So I wrote a post the other day, and I actually then copied it and put it on the advert for this meeting. The post said something like, I can never quote myself, I don't even know what I say, but it said something like, the deafening silence of this love is why it's usually missed. And I don't know where that shit comes from, but it appears, and it's funny, it's almost as though I then read it after it's appeared. I think that's how life naturally is. So what we take as our life is always after the event, after the actuality, after the appearance. So our commentary, which is the reaction, is our thoughts about it, is always after the event, after the happening. And then we say what's happened. The actual happening isn't happening, but we make it seemingly happen by us talking about it. And it's the same with the love. So I can talk about this life as love, but the problem with that is then if that's heard, then me goes off seeking love. And you could say that's what seeking is. Seeking is all about finding love, finding a love that's been lost. And the truth is that nothing is ever lost, only seemingly. And the love that you're longing for, the connection, there is no connection, but you're longing for completion, for wholeness, which we can call love. That's ever present. That just isn't lost, can't be lost. It's all there is. But you can't see it and you can't find it. So the weirdest thing about talking about this love is that it won't be seen. It's not that I've seen it. It's not that anyone else has found it. It's not that it can be found. It's that it is. It's not separate from anything that's happening. It's not separate from anything that is. But you can't hear it, even though it's singing. So it's silently singing. And it's not moving, it's totally still, but it's all the movement. There isn't anything that isn't what we're speaking about. And for want of a better word, today I'm calling it love. So I'm not just talking about, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, don't get stuck on the word. Love can look like anything. It is anything. It is everything. But the seeming looking for it because it has been lost, it's never been lost. It can't be lost. And so because it's not been lost, it can't be found. Isn't that beautiful? It can't be found because it can't be lost. Okay, that's a short introduction. I might have something else to say about it later on. Who knows? Has anyone got a question they'd like to ask? That was very short, but yeah, we'll go straight into sharing. Catherine, yeah.
Yes. Can't remember what I was going to say now.
That sounds familiar.
So there can't be anyone outside of it to actually hear it or see it.
Exactly that.
Yeah. It's just so weird.
So how would this hear this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in order to say, for a human being to say that they've got this, or they've heard this, or they've seen this, or they know this, or they understand this, that one would have to be outside, wouldn't it, to know?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Outside looking in, or inside looking out, whichever way you want to phrase it. And there really is no inside or outside. That's the whole message, really. That inside, what seems to be inside and what seems to be outside is the illusion. There actually isn't an inside and outside to this life. We can call it life, or we could call it love. It doesn't really matter what words we use to name it, because the naming of it is arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything. Because this is all meaning, you know, this intrinsically doesn't have any meaning until we bring meaning to it, Catherine. That's very obvious as well. So this has no essential meaning. But of course, human beings, being big-brained and wanting to understand, feel much more comfortable. Self feels very comfortable if it feels it understands and knows what's happening. And really, this message is just saying, well, that's just a lie. You're lying to yourself. And don't get me wrong, you'll find plenty of others who'll collude with you in that illusion of knowing, that illusion of understanding, that you actually know what life is and what's happening. But it might just become obvious that no one really knows. If it is very obvious that the one who knew was a fiction, was an illusion, then of course it becomes very obvious that it's the same for every other human being, even though they will argue with you to the death that they do know. That's what self does. That's what self, because self is only existent on its knowledge. And all of the knowledge of life exists because I exist. So I know myself, and therefore I know other things. I know what's going on. I know what's happening because I know myself.
Yeah. One of the first things, I was brought up in a Catholic household, so
yeah,
you know, you learn that with the Bible you have to know thyself. So you get that from the start already. You get that conditioning.
yeah. And of course, being a Catholic as well, you had to know yourself as essentially flawed as well.
Oh yes.
You had to know yourself. You were born in sin, weren't you?
Well, it's funny, we never really mentioned that. That was very Irish.
Oh, yeah, that's very Irish. That's true.
Yes. I
yeah,
think,
that's true.
Yeah, I'm from Belgium, and maybe it was quite modern and
right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Mixed. Yeah, so I didn't get that. But except you obviously you commit all the sins on earth that you could.
Yeah. But of course, the notion of sin is essential to Christianity. That you have free will and choice to either act for good or evil. Act in a right way or an evil way. Good and evil.
And you have to repent the whole time.
Always.
There's no escaping being outside the path.
Yeah. But of course, you don't think that Catholics have a monopoly on sin and on responsibility. Of course, that's the essence of self. That
Yes.
self has autonomy and can choose to behave responsibly or irresponsibly, to behave in a right way or a wrong way. That's in all.
I
That's
mean,
not even religious, actually. That actually comes directly from the notion of self, because I exist only in my power, my personal power to choose my actions. I choose how I behave. I choose my path. I choose, you know,
all a
that,
great illusion.
yeah. And it's such a burden. I mean, it's just it's a huge, don't get me wrong, self loves the power of it, because it gives self the power, the illusion of control over life. I'm the controller, I'm the manager of my life. And self won't give that up. One of the big problems with trying to speak about this message is it's very clear that Tim, the I am, didn't give up being I am. Self would not give up being self.
But surely it's all part of the dream. It's all part of the love or whatever. Or
Yeah,
all this expression, all these unique
there isn't anything that's not.
beings. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of the most beautiful things about this is there's no exclusion. Yeah. So if there's a feeling of self, if there's a conviction that I am myself and I know myself, then that's the love.
I'm nodding, but I don't know. Obviously, there's no understanding of it.
No, and you
I
mustn't.
hear the words, but
Yeah, and I don't understand it, Catherine. I know
yeah,
it sounds
yeah.
like I do, or at least I'm trying to sound like I do. But the problem with listening to people who speak about life in this way, which is usually under the heading of non-duality, although it's really important to understand that doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
It's not a different way of being. There is only being, you know, but there is much more freedom. Life's much, well, what do I do as me? What do? I compartmentalize life. That's what I do. There's my life, and then there's everything else. I'm separate from life. I can have a life. I mean, the arrogance of self is phenomenal, isn't it? That I have a life and it's mine. I possess it. And it's mine to do as I will. As though, you know, it's quite outrageous, really. What we call normal. I mean, it's not by any other standard of nature, you could say it's not normal, is it? You know, if an ant thought it was controlling its life and could determine, it could save the world, say, or a fly or a bumblebee or a bird or a fish decided that he could change the world and, make his life successful, to be a successful ant or a successful fish, we would soon laugh at that. And yet for each other, because we have this illusion of autonomy, of personal power, then we constantly collude with each other to reinforce it's the core belief. It's the absolute core of how humans interact with each other. And always vying for who's going to get control, who's going to have the power, who's going to be the top manager, who's right and who's wrong, who has the greatest knowledge and the greatest understanding. Because although this message sounds as though it's about understanding life in a different way, it's not really talking about understanding life at all. It's talking about unknowing what you thought you know. what you thought you knew, sorry. There isn't any knowing life. Life doesn't require any knowing. It's always just as it is.
It's not data.
No. No, it's just not data. Very good. No. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you, Tim.
What's in the chat? Somebody said something?
Nothing in the chat so far.
Denise says hi.
Apart from that.
So I'll say a little bit more, unless someone's got another question. Has anyone got a question? Or a comment?
Can I say something, Tim?
You certainly can.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps cropping up a lot when I listen to talks about when people say there's no knowing and
Yeah.
such like, and but there's still apparent knowing. It's not like here anyway, it's not like everything that the brain's ever learnt, and you know, it's not like all that drops away and it's just a total blank and you don't know.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so the reason I say not knowing or unknowing is in contrast to how it is for me when I think, well, I'm certain I know. I'm certain I know myself, and I'm certain I know you, and I'm certain I know generally, unless something out of the ordinary happens, I know what's going on. And the only reason I talk about not knowing is because in contrast to that, then this has a real flavor of not being known in that way. Yeah. But I could equally...
Kind of like real
I could say there's only knowing, Anne.
Yeah. Well,
there's kind
of both, isn't there? With like the real and unreal. It's like
yeah,
there's apparent knowing, but it's not like before when it was so definite and absolutely real. It's a bit kind of irrelevant, really. It just kind of washes over, and you know, like
There's no... You could say everything is known without knowing what or why or how.
Yeah.
You don't know what anything is, because the labels that seem to say that I knew what something was. So, you know, that a chair is a chair. Well, yeah, of course a chair is still a chair, but I don't really know what that is, and it doesn't have the absolute reality that it would have had for me when I was absolutely real. Really, the not knowing is really not knowing who you are or what you are. And without knowing what I am and or who I am or what I am, in fact, there's nothing to be found when that question is asked. Then everything else loses this concrete reality. That's what, when I talk about not knowing, that's what I'm trying to point to.
Yeah.
But it's
and
not...
it's sort of recognise that all knowing is conceptual. It's conceptual ideas, and ideas are it's imagination, basically. Making up stories, conceptual stories of what we've decided, or someone somewhere, something somewhere has decided is going on. And really all that's going on is Well, nothing really.
Well, what's going on is the you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's completely, so you don't know what's going on, but it's completely known. The going on itself doesn't need knowledge to be absolutely known. It is everything. It can't not be known. So, I mean, completely paradoxically, I'm going to now say that there's absolutely no knowing what this is, and this is completely known. And both of those make perfect sense.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
a direct contradiction of one another. But that's really how life is. And really, one of the great freedoms is being free from this being one way or another. Life is always one way and another.
It's just a huge paradox, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, and
just one big paradox.
Life doesn't have to be any way anymore, because it is how it is. That's liberation. The only one saying life had to be a certain way was me. The only one saying that life isn't how it should be is you. Life has no interest in the way it is just as it is. Absolutely. That's what I started with as love. Life doesn't have any prescription. It has no exclusion. It's not excluding anything. It's not accepting some parts of life and excluding others. It has no need of acceptance, because it's already complete. It doesn't have to, it's just not picking and choosing. We're the picker and chooser about which are the good bits and which needs, which parts need shining up, which bits need throwing out, which bits need enhancing and improving, which bits need destroying, the enemy of how I think life should be. There you are. That's the story of me, isn't it? That's me in my life. That there's parts of this that are good and parts of it that are not so good and parts of it that are downright terrible. Well, I'm not even saying that you have to stop doing that. I'm saying you can't stop doing that. That's the nature of self, to think in that way. Because I'm trying to make life as good as I can make it for myself. Utterly selfish. What would self be if not selfish? It's the nature of feeling that I am myself. And amazingly, that's love as well.
Got a couple of questions, Tim.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Okay, yeah, I've got a couple of questions here. So Ben's asking me, would you have yourself back if given the choice, say for a few million quid? Let me think. How many millions, Ben? Millions, not a lot these days. Maybe billions, maybe. Now, okay, I'll give you a couple of answers for that. The simple answer is no, I wouldn't. Because a rich, fucked up, neurotic, self-absorbed, self-loathing Tim, wealthy, is really no better off than one who's poor, is he? So no.
He says for $1 billion, Tim.
For $1 million?
Billion.
Billion. Mm-hmm. It makes no money doesn't bring you happiness, does it, Ben? what it does is bring you some comfort, material comfort, and fleeting joy of buying new cars or, you know, great holidays. But the trouble with driving a car as you is you're driving the car. So if you're miserable with yourself, of course, driving a smart car is just a miserable me driving a smart car. Or going on a wonderful holiday. You know, you could take, of course, if you're rich, you've got a beautiful new girlfriend you're taking on holiday with you, Ben. But trouble is, there's someone else going on holiday with you, isn't it? Yeah, you. So you take yourself with you, and of course you can, I don't know, you can get drunk and do drugs, and you can buy a lot of expensive drugs, good stuff, good shit, and feel okay for a while till you wake up in the morning, and then there's me in all his glory. So no, I wouldn't, Ben. But on the other hand, there isn't any losing of self. So, I mean, how paradoxical. All I'm talking about is so I'm not talking about self and no self. I'm trying to express that the self that you think you are is already just an illusion, non-existent. It's not that you go from being existent to non-existent. So the question that you ask, Ben, is actually a mute question, because there isn't a shift from self to no self. Although to talk about it, we sort of have to. But of course, the shift is just another story. Or the loss of self. It's just another story. You haven't got a self. There isn't you to have got a self. There isn't you to lose a self. There isn't a self. And there isn't a self is quite a lot different to, you know, waiting until you lose yourself, isn't it? Might sound the same to you, but. And if you do lose yourself, there will be no knowing that you've lost yourself. Who would know? You wouldn't know it. So wait a minute, I've just got to read the chat because I think Ben's replied to me. What's he got to say? Oh, Kelly doesn't believe me. Sarcastic cow. I'm not sure I believe it either. The illusion of self, we don't, sorry. If you were deluded into thinking you were the dog's bollocks, rich, arrogant, happy, yeah, you would have to be very deluded. Oh, here's Louise. Louise says, hi, Tim. So when you remember dreams, there's no center in dreams either, right? How does that work? Kind of an absurd question for you, sure. It's just that, oh, this is so mind-blowing. Well, it's interesting. I think I said this the other day. The occasions that I remember dreams, or there's a remembering of dreams, I get a sense of I've dreamt of me dreaming, of being the center of the dream. So there's a me-ness in the dream. For what's that? That's not worth anything, but so you could say that liberation is life without a center, although that sounds too grandiose, really. Life is just as it is. But so sometimes when I remember the dreams and I think about them, I can feel, particularly if they're neurotic dream about anxiety, then if there's anxiety, that's always has a flavor of me about it. So, Louise, I do dream as me, occasionally, I think. I know. What's that all about? I guess a lot of the so-called liberation is you don't worry. There's no questions about what this is about anymore. So if there's a dream as me, there's no worrying about that and thinking, oh, me's coming back, or oh, I better not. Oh, stay awake then. I don't want to be going back to being me again. There isn't a possibility of going back to being me, because even if it felt like that, it's not. It's illusory. So the illusion that you're inside and everything else is outside, that's the illusion. That's what we're talking about. That can seemingly end, and then there's just no inside and outside. That's all we're speaking about. That's all I'm speaking. I say we. It's not necessarily how others would speak about this, but that end, seemingly not an end, a stop. The appearance that there is me inside and everything else outside doesn't appear anymore. That appearance stops appearing. But it's not noticeable, because I was never inside. That was just how I know it feels like that. I haven't forgotten how enclosed, and that's the prison. That's the enclosing. I'm shut off from life in my own little tiny small life. And this is about life being without boundaries, without borders, without edges, without compartments. Whatever compartments there are, we've made up. And of course, there's still ability to function in that way. For a while, it can seem to take some getting used to, that vast emptiness, that vast spaciousness that this is. But on the other hand, it's incredibly ordinary, and nothing changes at all. So I'm guessing that most of you are waiting for some very, very dramatic event to happen, when you will know, when there'll be a revelation. I like that word, revelation. I was waiting for a revelation, for sure. And you know, a great dramatic shift in reality. Wouldn't that be nice? Because then I'd be special, wouldn't I? This is so not special. Not in the experiential sense. Not at all. It's the obviousness that everything is absolutely equally special. And that's amazingly ordinary. If everything is special, then of course nothing is. There's no higher and lower. There's nothing that is superior to anything else. There's no special people, but equally there's no special experiences. There's no special happenings. There's no hierarchy.
Tim, Aparna said, there is no one and nobody has a clue what's going on. If this had a voice, it would laugh at all the poor fools trying to get it. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, yeah, I was just reading it. Yeah, just as you said. Yeah, there will be laughter. Yeah. And of course, this isn't like, yeah, I can see why you would say that. But there is only human beings laughing. You know, we can so easily make what we're talking about as a super being, you know, God's laughing, the universe is laughing, nature is laughing, this is laughing at us, at self's arrogance and in self's impotence, you know, laughing at that. Well, the only one who can laugh at it, there's it just seems very obvious that there isn't some power that is laughing or supporting or loving, or that's us. That's humanity. You know, we're the laughter. There isn't something outside that would mock us and laugh at us. If there's mocking to be done, we better do it. We're in the best position to mock ourselves, aren't we? Who else is? There's no sense here. I have no sense that there is a greater, higher power that could, and I'm sure that's not what was meant, but you know that there isn't a laughing from outside, laughing at us. If there's going to be laughter, it'll be us who's laughing. It'll be humanity laughing at itself. There's great liberation in that, in itself. What did Boris say? Thanks. Aparna says, yeah. One of the most beautiful things about this is that it's not going anywhere, that it's not really moving, just seemingly moving. It's not moving forward, it's not progressing, it's not developing. All of that is for me. We've made all of that up. Progress, development, becoming. And freedom from the desire and the need to progress, to become, to develop is an amazing freedom for no one. You don't get that freedom. It's just how it is. Yeah, life doesn't have requirements. Don't get me wrong, all the other me's will have requirements still. If this becomes really obvious and you happen to mention to some other selves, to some selves that, you know, life is totally free, it doesn't have any requirements, they'll soon avail you of their requirements and the requirements that society has. But so, you know, as a human being is there's living within those societal boundaries, to those limits, those that are imposed. But you don't have to take them as real anymore. And there's great freedom in that. Has anyone else got a question they'd like to ask?
Can I just say something, Tim?
Catherine?
Yeah, it's not a question. If someone else has a question, I can shut the corner.
No, you're fine. Off you go.
Yeah. No, I just get the incredible sadness.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when I listen to the talk, it can be either I'm moved, something moves me, and there's some crying wanting to come, but it's not for sadness, it's just something else. But here's it comes with being so feeling of the entrapment in being me, that you feel this separation even more, and you feel this isolation even more.
I know.
It's just there. It's just so strong. It's not there all the time, but
no.
Yeah, it's.
I know. I remember it well, Catherine.
Yeah. So heavy.
Yeah, because self is I am the weight. Self is the heaviness of life.
Yeah. It doesn't last. It's just some, and it's like the weather.
Yeah, and when it's sad, it is very sad. Yeah.
It's like sadness and anger and all that.
That's all okay. It's fine. Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
But there is a real sadness though. And there's, by the way, I mean, there is a sadness in what we're calling liberation, for want of a better word. There is a sadness in that.
I've heard. I've heard
for the self that never was.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah.
But I heard Rose also mention that there can be disappointment as well.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, massively disappointing, hugely. It's nothing what I was wanting. It's nothing that I was hoping for, Catherine. Not even remotely close. I was hoping for spectacular, spectacular bliss. That's
it's the bliss, isn't it? Wanting to always feel joy, peace.
Permanent joy.
Yeah.
Not at all. That's not what's on offer. Life's not offering that to a human being. Don't be ridiculous. Life's offering what it's got, which is everything.
Everything.
And all we're talking about is the one who would pick and choose and avoid and try and get more of one and less of the other. That's an impossibility without me. And so you just get more of everything. So there'll be more joy and there'll be more sadness without me filtering and picking and choosing. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, of course, what most selves are looking for is the end of sadness, the end of sorrow, the end of anxiety, the end of fear, the end of all the things that I find painful, the end of pain, the end of suffering. And of course, that's not what's... You can listen to plenty of speakers who are going to offer that if you're interested.
Yeah.
And you can get on a path and...
No, I mean, I used to... I went to Moody's...
I just mean one can. I didn't mean you personally.
No.
Of course, that's really, well, that's even a bigger lie, isn't it? Of course, life is everything.
Yes. I'm not trying to make it go. I just I
No.
wanted to share.
And of course, sadness is just as beautiful as joy.
Yeah.
It's just got a, you know, it hurts.
Thank you.
But it's like, what does me want? I don't want to feel pain. I don't want pain. So I go off seeking where I can just find pleasure without pain.
But that's the thing, Tim. Unless I'm just fooling myself, I can't find the seeker. I'm in pain when I walk, and yes, I'm I'm angry because I was hoping to do lots of walking and that.
Yeah.
But it is, I don't know. It's I'm not apart from it. I don't know.
No, you're not kidding yourself, because that's naturally how it is.
Yeah.
There's no self to kid.
There's no self to kid.
You know what I mean? But it's self, what I would say is, you know, that feeling of, oh, I'm probably just deluded. I'm just deluding myself. Well, that's just more me coming in, because me doesn't want, me would hate to think that you could possibly be okay without yourself. Imagine that. Because that is absolutely unimaginable for self. And so if there's, even if you get a bit of taste of freedom, me's likely to come in and go, oh yeah, well, of course you are. You've always been a bit of a deluded fool. And now you're deluding yourself even more than ever. That's just the sort of thing self would say, isn't it? And don't get me wrong, those thoughts still come up. So quite often before one of these meetings, there can be thoughts of being a fraud and being self-sabotage, and, you know, who do you think you are? Those kind of thoughts. But it's funny because now they're just laughable. But the thoughts still happen. I mean, that's habit of a lifetime. Those thoughts have been habitual, and so you must, you know, it's now that they're not taken seriously at all. So what? So as well as you know, that you can't think you're special anymore without self, you can't think you're fraudulent or worse than anyone else. You can't think you're better than anyone else or worse than anyone else, because there isn't anyone else. There's no one here and there's no one there. And that is a freedom beyond description. It can't be expressed. Because of course, as me, all I can do is compare myself with other me's and where I stand, how I am in relation to them. And the not caring is an immense freedom, you know. So some people will think I'm fraudulent, or some will think, each human being will think whatever they think. And it's so what? That's so much better than it was for me. And all my fears about how I appeared, how I was being received by others. Yeah. So has anyone got another question? Feel free. Ben says to me, what do I make of things like Extinction Rebellion, Black Lives Matter, Occupy, etc.? What do I think about them? Nothing much, really. I don't think about that kind of stuff. It's not a very good answer, is it? I don't though, I'm not. I don't. So I used to be quite political, not extremely, but, you know, socialist, you know, making the world a better place, more equal. There was a desire for that. A compassionate desire, you know, I see that as, that's how it felt anyway. But yeah, that gone. By the way, that had gone a long time ago, actually. I'm not attributing that to any kind of liberation from self, just seeing that it was all very pointless. But if you want to feel powerful and important, then join a political group or a religious group or a spiritual group who say they're going to have a huge impact on the future of humanity and the earth, or maybe the whole universe if they're particularly grandiose. All of that just seems now like massive extensions of me into being a mega me that can have more power. So what do I want? I want to be powerful. That's what me wants. My personal power to assert what I know to be true and real and right. And what can I do in my little tiny impotence? I can then get with like-minded selves who I'm going to constantly disagree with in our like-mindedness, and join a group, a party, and demonstrate so that I don't feel, because me doesn't like feeling impotent. I want power. Me and power are synonymous. So the simple answer is I don't really think about them at all. It's not right or wrong. It's, for me, it just seems really obvious that that's how it would be. In a world of me's, then there's going to be lots of demonstration and groups that try to change the world. That's what politics and religion is, if you think about it. You don't even have to think about it much. Politics and religion are very, very similar. I will make a contribution to making the world a better place based on my view of what the world would be a better place by being. So I joined a group. And then I feel life has a purpose and a meaning, which is what I so need that. I mean, imagine life being totally, and I can't emphasize this enough, utterly without meaning or purpose. It's just dreadful for me, for the self. It's awful. It's unthinkable. It's unimaginable. Because then it's free. And by free, I mean wild, chaotic, anarchic. And self fears anarchy dreadfully. No control. No one controlling this. Well, I'm not having that. I'm going to stamp my authority and damn well control life, at least my life. And if you give me a chance, I'll try and control yours as well. That's what self says. That's what politics says. That's what religion says. And not surprisingly, you might have noticed that might be the root cause of most conflict, violence, and war. Just the collective me asserting I'm right and you're wrong, asserting my power over you, my power to say what is the purpose, what is the meaning, what is right.
So Tim.
Hi, Sky.
Hey, so a leaf falling off a tree is no different than a war in Iraq, is what you're saying.
Hold on. Oh, hi, Sky. Hold on a minute. I just think something happened there because you appeared on the full screen. Hold on, Sky.
No problem.
Yeah. So when you spoke, what's happened there? I'm not sure. There's a technical thing happened there, Sky. I'm just
No problem.
I'm just having a look. Let's have a look. Okay.
Did you catch my question?
Sorry, could you ask? I've done it now. It's just for some reason the spotlight, which is just means it's just my image.
No worries. No
Yeah,
worries.
say that.
So,
Ask a
so my
question.
question was, so a leaf falling from a tree is no different than a war in Iraq.
No.
Yeah.
Not really. Yeah.
That is mind blowing.
Not essentially. No, of course they're not. They're not, because neither of them are really happening.
Yeah, yeah.
They're both really happening, and neither are really happening. But one isn't more significant than another, because of course it's only humanity, and that is only collective selves are ascribing one as significant and one as insignificant.
That is so fascinating. It neutralizes everything.
Yeah. This is so neutral. Yeah, I like the word. Neutrality is really the essence of what we're talking about. Life is utterly neutral. It doesn't have a viewpoint. We have viewpoints. And then we assert that they're real, that they have meaning, that they have significance. Well, of course there are viewpoints. It's not that this human being doesn't still have viewpoints, of course. It's just very obvious that they're of no significance whatsoever. None. But that doesn't mean that there's not points of view. Points of view are just as light as a leaf falling off a tree. And of course, a war in Iraq is about two conflicting viewpoints, isn't it? That's all.
Yeah.
And viewpoints are viewpoints. It's not, I'm not, this message is not saying, okay, be devoid of points of view, be devoid of beliefs. Beliefs are just what they are. They're just beliefs, but they're not real. Only real beliefs. And a point of view is a point of view. It's a real point of view. So what?
And if everyone saw that, everything would just drop away.
I have no idea what it would be like if everyone saw that.
I think that everyone would just throw up their hands and say, I surrender.
Well, there wouldn't. You just would not fight for your beliefs. Of course not. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, there would be a total surrender.
Yeah, because well, there's no one to surrender. That's it. So there's no one to fight, and there's no one. So there wouldn't be surrendering even. Even that's too much.
It would just be. There could be hysterical laughter.
I don't know what there would be. There would be a lot of drinking tea. There would be a lot of drinking tea, putting the kettle on for someone else and making them a cup of tea and a nice piece of cake. That's my prediction for the future of humanity, that everyone will make tea for each other and maybe a nice lemon drizzle cake.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would take the cake.
Or the biscuit.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Oh, thanks, guy. That was lovely. Yeah, that was lovely. Yeah, this is completely neutral, you know. So when you might hear that this is meaningless, this is pointless, this is hopeless, they all sound like negatives, but what they're pointing to is not negative at all. It's absolute neutrality, neither positive nor negative, but in which seeming positive and negative all appear. That's life. So whether life seems positive or negative, whether there's things you like or dislike, they actually, in essence, are absolutely neutral. They don't have any positive or negative charge. That's just a story. Now, don't get me wrong, we can make them into a story that we can then say has significance and meaning, but it's just a story. It's all just a story, including this. So if you disrespect non-duality, somebody said the other day, well, yeah, it's all right for you because you believe in non-duality, don't you? And I went, no, I don't at all. There's nothing to believe in. I don't believe in it. It doesn't require any belief. Life is what I'm talking about. Life doesn't need a belief to be life, to be alive. Life doesn't have any requirements at all, none. Now, don't get me wrong, when I was a seeker of non-duality, I could argue the hind legs off a donkey with someone who would disrespect non-duality and could get really heated and pissed off about it because they were wrong and I had a great understanding and knew what I was talking about. Well, if you if you disrespected me now, I'm not saying I'd like it, but there would be no point in arguing about it because this doesn't require any argument. This doesn't need any defending. You don't need to defend life. That's a relief, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, I like an argument, so I might argue just for the hell of it. I could be. I'm known as argumentative. Ask James, he'll say that. What did James just say? Someone should use drinking tea and eating cake as a book title. Ha ha. He's referring to the lovely Richard. Yeah, I'll probably. Do you think, James? Do you think that's copyrighted and he'll be pissed off that I've used that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Publicity.
That is a nice. Drink tea, eat cake is one of Richard Sylvester's books, which is really good.
Tim, are you going to write a book, or have you written one, or?
Who's asking me?
Boris.
Boris, you're asking me now. Boris, with a bit of luck, maybe 2.
Ah.
So I'm hoping. I shouldn't tell you really. This is a secret because I wanted to build it up and then just let them give birth spontaneously to 2 books in one go. So I'm hoping that there'll be one book which will be kind of poetic with short verses, I would say. And then the other one is question and answer, and they're going to be from interviews that I've done. So yeah, with a bit of luck, hopefully, Boris, 2 books.
Yeah, nice.
What I would like all of you to do is, you don't have to worry about the Christmas lists anymore. For most of your friends, if you've got any seeker friends, it's done. You've sorted for Christmas. You've got a choice of 2. I'm sure they'd appreciate that. Send one to each of your spiritual friends, just to ensure that they have a more miserable Christmas. Yeah, so I'm hoping to. And the other thing I'm hoping to have is a website shortly as well. In the not too distant future, with a bit of luck.
Tim, Catherine says, it doesn't help to believe we're alive as one automatically fears death and looks to protect itself by all means.
Oh yeah, where's that?
You just scroll up a little.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So, yeah, Catherine, if liberation means something, or it's liberation from the fear of death, yeah. And underlying all fears, and I really mean this, if you take fear down to what's at the bottom of any fear, of any anxiety, of any neuroses, what's at the bottom is me. I'm at the bottom, and what am I scared of? I'm scared of death. And actually, there's something even underneath death, for most individuals, I think. Underneath death is non-existence. So not even that I will die, that I have never existed, and there is no existence. There is no me. That the absolute void, the abyss, total emptiness, complete nothingness. That is the greatest fear. That's greater than death. I mean, most cells would, if they got into therapy and they got to the root cause of fear, what was at the very bottom, it would take some digging, because me won't want to look at death. You know, it's the great avoidance for most cells. I won't even, you know, Western society is dreadful at hiding death still. We're awful. No wonder we're so scared of it. We've made it taboo. It's still a taboo. I mean, it has got a bit better, I think, in the last few years, actually. But it's still taboo. Sex has come out of the closet. And death's almost gone further into it. But the liberation is there is no death. And why is there no death? There's no one to die. That's it. That's the ultimate, that's the almighty freedom that we're talking about. Now, it's not a freedom for me. That's the shit bit. That's why I'm always saying this is not what you want. That's not what you're looking for, because there's no freedom in no death for me if there's no me. There's no benefit for me in that at all. It's quite the opposite. It's like, well, it's a huge disappointment. Because I can't even imagine my, you know, my obituary and my epitaphs where everyone, and at the funeral where everyone was sobbing over my, because there's no selves who haven't thought. If you tell me that you've not imagined your funeral and how everyone will be weeping and wailing and saying how wonderful you are, then you're a liar. Because there's not even that. You can't even, you don't get any, there's no compensation. You just never were. But of course you can't die. There's bodily death, but I mean, I'm not joking. There's bodily death, and so what? That's really is without me, because it was always for me. All my fear was for me, and my, you know, that it might come to the end of my life and I haven't done what I could have done. And, you know, I didn't fulfill all my ambition. I didn't fulfill my hopes and dreams. It's just all shit for me. And yeah, great to have freedom from that.
I just talked about it because you were mentioning about the wars, and it's between two selves with different opinion, and that's why the thought of, you know, it's all to do with the fear of death and wanting to protect one's self.
Oneself, yeah. That's what it is, yeah.
Yes.
But one of the reasons that I often refer to this, you could say, life without me, as the peace that passes all understanding. I have no idea if this was what Jesus meant, but I've got a hunch that he might have done, maybe. That of course there is a peace. There is so much peace without me and my fear for myself. What are most of my thoughts on a daily basis about? if you could, I mean, I don't know if neuroscientists can do this, but if they could, or if you could take the, I don't know, let's make a conservative estimate of 6,000 thoughts a day. How many of those were fear for yourself? Anxious thoughts, anxiety, which of course is fear for me. That's what it is. How many of those were about me and my life and fear for my life? Not all of them, but the majority. And just the absence of those, there's an immense space which is experienced as peace of mind. And peace of mind isn't something, it's an absence, it's a space, it's an emptiness. Where I used to be, me and all my questions, me and all my anxieties, me and all my fears, and my hopes, and my dreams, and my responsibilities, and my everything. Everything had me before it. And the fact that they were mine, of course, gave them all their energy and power. Seemingly. Not really, but certainly that's how it feels. That's how it felt. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes if anyone would like. Yeah, me takes up all the space. Aparna says me occupies a lot of space. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm the center of the universe. Of course I take up a lot of space. I fill it all with me. It all revolves around me. I am the sun. And you are naught but insignificant orbiting planets around moi. That's what me is. Me, the center. I'm the center of my known universe. And this is so what this is attempting to describe is a universe without a center. So it has no center, and it has no direction. It has no boundaries, because really it's just space. It's just emptiness. It's really nothing. And in that nothing, there is everything. Nothing being everything. But you won't know that. It's not that I know that nothing's being everything. It just seems really obvious. I don't know how. What's James say? Hey, James, are you talking to everybody?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Well, Benjamin said, can you do a song?
What, you?
No, to you.
Oh, I can't. No, but you're a better singer than me.
Thank you.
Well, that goes. We have done karaoke together, haven't we? Impromptu.
We have. What did we sing?
That's saying too much. Probably we'll leave it there, because people will start to infer from that. I don't think it was karaoke. Oh, I know what it was. It was Billy Idol, White Wedding, which is an 80s classic.
That would have been your choice.
I think it's 1989, I think. What do you think, James?
I'd say 87.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Can we have a sample of that now, please?
No. I need backing. I just think we'd had a few pints in the pub, and then Billy Idol came on the jukebox, and I started singing, and James, who's far too young to know the lyrics, knew all the lyrics to Billy Idol, White Wedding. And we got very excited singing it together. Not that that's of any relevance.
Lottie says she wants to hear it.
Huh? Sorry?
Lottie would like to hear it.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would love to hear that as a duet. Especially you dressed up in your full bridal gear. So I've gone too far. Okay. Has anybody got a question? Last 10 minutes. Very funny. Runswick says you should hear Ramana Maharshi's version of My Way. That's good. Thanks.
Have you got the link?
He's had to change the lyrics slightly, but yeah, I'm sure that's. That's funny.
What's he changed them to? I didn't know.
Sorry, Anne?
What's he changed it to? I did it no way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's had to change I did it all, and that he hasn't, yeah, regrets. Must have had quite a lot, really. You're going to regret sitting in a cave mode for that long. So,
He says there is nothing and then asks its appearance.
yeah, the word appearance is just to say that it looks like something's happening, doesn't it? It looks like, it appears there's shit going on. And from that appearance of there's something going on, we then infer that this going on leads to another. This appearance leads to another appearance. We infer cause and effect. We infer time. We infer space. We infer knowledge. We know that that happened, I remember it, and that's caused this to happen. And this happening is going to cause that to happen. So then we can predict the future. And all of that is about control. Because if I can predict the future, of course, I can keep myself safe. That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in my own welfare, my own well-being, my own preserving myself, keeping myself safe. And so, of course, all of this illusory self, I mean, it serves a useful purpose, keeping me safe. That's what it's for. That's what me does. That's what me's about. But boy, it's a burden, isn't it? Now, seemingly, it's not. The majority of selves don't seem to notice that I am the root cause of my suffering. It just seems that most human beings don't notice that. I'm amazed that they don't. It was bloody obvious to me when I was really quite young. And I'm guessing it was to you. that, okay, what's really the root cause of most of my suffering? Well, of course it's me. Of course it is. It's me and my desire and my fear. So of course, but then you looked for an answer, and there are thousands of answers out there which will suggest how you could change yourself in order for you to be okay. That's what all paths, all methods, all techniques of self-improvement, all spiritual paths, they're all suggesting that. Well, this suggestion is suggesting that there isn't a problem, that the root cause of the problem is an illusory root cause. That there actually isn't a cause. This is causeless. This doesn't have a beginning. This didn't start. It won't end. It's not on a linear timeline. It's not going anywhere. It's not moving. The moving is the appearance. So movement is the appearance that stillness is moving, but really it's still. The sound is the appearance that silence is singing. Silence is making a noise, but really it's absolutely silent. That's what the word appearance is, and the word apparently, and the word seemingly is trying to point to. Don't get stuck on the words. The words are irrelevant. If it becomes obvious that this doesn't move, it will be obvious that this doesn't move, that life is unmoving. If it becomes obvious that sounds are really absolutely silent, then that will be obvious. But there will only be the sound. And if you see movement, and movement is, it might be obvious that the movement is completely unmoving. But it will appear exactly the same as it always did. This isn't about a change in perception. This isn't about a shift in perception. This isn't about a shift in consciousness. That's not what I'm speaking about. That's not the message. That's not what I want to say. That's not what is trying to be communicated. This doesn't shift. How could there be a shift? There's no me. How could there be no me? How could there be an end of me if there's not a me? If there's no self, there's no end of self, is there? Of course not. So it appears that there's time. It appears like there's space. It appears that there's places. It appears that there's movement. So all the paradoxical language that's used to try and communicate this is just pointing that there isn't two. There are no opposites. So what we talk about as everything, the happenings, the things, the objects, what we talk about as normal life, that's actually nothing. Everything. It's not. Everything is nothing. Nothing is everything. So what we talk about as material life, the form, the beingness, the somethingness of life, that is absolutely nothing. There isn't a nothing separate from all the things. Thingness and nothingness are not two. They're just, you can't say what they are. So there's an appearance of time and timelessness are not two. There's not time and the timeless. So there isn't a timeless to find any more than there's a nothingness to find. The nothingness is in the something, is the something. The timeless is the seeming appearance of time. So that's lovely, because you can give up trying to get that, can't you? Or you can keep saying, well, I just don't get it. I heard this idiot, Tim Cliss, talking about nothing and everything being the same, as though they're one and the same. Well, how could that be? Well, you don't have to know how it can be. It is. It's not how it can be, or it could be, or it might be. That's how it is. You won't know it. That's why when earlier Anne was saying about knowing and unknowing, that's why I'm always trying to emphasize the not knowing, because that's not knowable. You don't need to know that, because you can't know it. There's nothing to know. So the only knowing is the seeming things. That's what you know. You know things. You know ideas, you know concepts, you know names. That's thingness. That thingness is nothing. There is not another nothing that you could find that's hiding inside, behind, or somewhere else. You know? So that's why you don't need to know. Aparna's just called me a great idiot. Well, charmed, I'm sure. So Aparna's called me a great idiot. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not. I think you probably means it as a compliment, but I'm not sure I'm taking it as one. Okay. So thanks to everybody for coming. Oh, there's lots of you. Sorry, yeah, do you know, because I didn't have it on gallery view. I've not had it on gallery view all night, and I only knew a few of you were here. So hi, Jean. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Tim.
Great. Hi, D. May, who I've forgotten your first.
I'm Doug, and
of course it's
came
Doug.
in very late, but yeah, it was great to hear you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Doug. And Mary.
Thanks,
Hi, Mary. Yeah, thanks for everyone. If you'd like to make a donation, then please do via PayPal.
Yeah.
All donations are very welcome.
Thanks, Tim. Love to talk. Bye-bye.
Oh, no, it's been lovely. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Take care. And I'll do another meeting, because there was quite a few people came on Monday. So I'll give it another go on Monday, see how it goes, if any of you would like to come. Or if anyone, you know, someone who couldn't make Thursday, but they could make Monday, then you might mention that. And I'm doing it as a little trial just to see if it's worth doing 2 meetings a week.
Great.
But you know, I like doing it, so it's really no hardship.
Enjoy your night out, Tim.
Pardon?
Enjoy your night out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a beer or two now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
See you, Tim. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you.
Only two beers, right, Tim?
Two. Two's my maximum.
No more than two.
No more.
It would get silly. It would get silly after that.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you, Tim.